Hello and welcome to the Book Doctors YouTube channel. We have a very special guest today.
We do. Our old friend Grant Faulkner.
Thank you for having me.
Who is the executive director of the one and only NaNoWriMo.
National Novel Writing Month, one of the best organizations that a writer can be involved with.
That will fuel your creativity and
give you a community of supporting people who are going to love you and root for you to finish your book.
But let's take a moment to say what NaNoWriMo is for the few people out there who
I'm enjoying all this.
Good.
You're saying it better than I am. I can. Yeah. NaNoWriMo, at its most basic, is a challenge to write 50,000 words of a novel in a month. We believe that a goal and a deadline is a creative midwife. Too many people say, I want to write a novel someday. And someday just tends not to happen. Yeah. So we want to help people write the novel today. And everything that you guys said, that NaNoWriMo is not just about sitting down and writing a novel in a month. It's about an exploration of a creative process. It's about joining a creative community. It's about many things. So we encourage everyone to do it. And it's free. You got nothing to lose.
Right.
It's free.
And there's all kinds of events during the year as well to help you continue your writing and creativity process.
We have year-round programming.
Yep.
So we have a new website that's launching this fall. I call it's one part Fitbit for writers.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's fun.
We existed before Fitbit though, so Fitbit's NaNoWriMo for walkers. and then it's one part sort of like social media online community for writers. But we also have 1,000 volunteers. We call them municipal liaisons, and they're around the world, and they organize in-person writing gatherings in their local communities. And we also work with 1,200 libraries who do the same. So it's all about finding your tribe of writers, essentially. Yeah.
And they have a great tagline: no plot,
no problem.
No problem.
We want to reduce the barriers that people kind of create, between themselves and their story.
Many talented amateurs have done NaNoWriMo and become not just professionally published authors, but best-selling authors, like gigantic authors.
Can you name a few?
Yeah, you know what? So Erin Morgenstern was here yesterday.
Yeah,
I met her, and she's signing her new novel. Marissa Meyer is also here.
Wow.
I just read last week that Elizabeth Acevedo, who won the National Book Award for her first novel,
Is she a NaNoWriMo person?
She wrote her second novel during NaNoWriMo, the rough draft of it. So there are hundreds.
Sarah Gruen?
Sarah Gruen. Gosh, there's just so many. Hugh Howey is a huge success story. Jasmine Guillory, just thought of her. She's huge. Reese Witherspoon just chose her novel for her book club of the month.
We do a NaNoWriMo Pitchapalooza every year.
Oh yeah,
we do.
And we have had
so many great pitches. Yes.
Stacey McAnulty, who's on her 100th book now.
Publishes a book.
NaNoWriMo authors tend to be really prolific.
They do. They do.
Gloria Chow.
Yeah, Gloria Chow.
May Cobb, who just landed a mega 2-book deal for thrillers. People do the work, and then they have this beautiful thing. They edit it, they do make it better, and they do their research to get it out in the world. And so many people have done this, so we hope you'll participate. So one of the things that we find common ground and that we talk about offline together a lot is that publishing can be a kind of snooty business, and there's a lot of gatekeepers that often look alike and look for the same kinds of things, might have been educated in the same kind of places,
Traditionally a gentleman's business, and I use the word gentleman with air quotes around because we know what kind of gentleman we're talking about.
And we all are of the belief that we need more people at the table, and we want to open up the gates and the doors and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And we would love to know some thoughts that you have on that.
Yeah, I think fundamentally NaNoWriMo is a type of gate-crashing organization, and I say that because, per what you're saying, so many people are essentially told not to write their story, that other people are writers, and whether they're told that or whether they internalize that and project it, it's still a huge thing. That like writers are those people over there who, go to more precious schools, who are born to parents or born in an environment where they're told that they can be creative, And that's one of the things I hear from people when I encourage them to do NaNoWriMo is a lot of people say, I'm not a creative type, or I'm not a real writer, I'm not a writer. Well, the definition of being a writer is if you write, you're a writer.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a writer. Well, yeah, you're literally writing right now, so you are a writer.
Exactly. And I was on a panel with Jasmine Guillory yesterday, and she was talking about how she always talked herself out of being a writer. And so you have to talk yourself into being a writer, and that's part of the gate crashing, actually, is that initial step to tell your story. And when you like embrace yourself as a writer, you're giving yourself creative power too.
Yeah.
Like when you say I'm not a writer, you're diminishing yourself. So we urge people to say they're a writer and to tell their story. And our tagline is that everyone has a story to tell, and that every story matters. And that's the thing. It's a fight, because a lot of people are going to tell you that your story doesn't matter, or they're going to try to shut you down in some ways. And they might not even think they're doing that, but it's just...
So you have to crash your own gate.
You do.
Yeah.
Crash your own gate
great.
first.
It's cool.
It's a lifelong gate crashing.
I'm doing it every day,
effort.
man.
Right.
Well, yesterday we were at the Rutgers Writers Conference, and Amy Tan was talking. And when she was a little kid, a teacher said to her, "You're not a writer. You can't write. You're not a good writer. You're a bad writer. You shouldn't write." How do you tell a little kid like that?
I know.
It just breaks my heart.
It's crazy.
Amy Tan, one of the great writers of her
Who
generation.
are these people? And the thing is that becoming a good writer, it's a dedication and persistence and practice matters more than natural talent, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And I'm sure Amy Tan, fortunately, she probably had a growth mindset, and she was resilient and determined, and that's what it takes to get over comments like that. So I always say those comments create creativity wounds, and they can shut people down for a whole lifetime.
Scars.
So, yeah,
Creativity scars.
Yeah.
So in terms of, a lot of people come out of NaNoWriMo and they have this bunch of letters on a page in all different forms.
It looks exactly like that.
And so you have this manuscript of some kind.
Right.
So there's the manuscript, and then the for many people the dream to get published.
Right.
So how do you explain that gap between the manuscript and the getting published, whatever that means? It could mean self-published, it could mean published with an independent publisher, or with a big 5 publisher.
Yeah.
How do you talk about that?
Well, we always, we instruct people that your rough draft that you write during NaNoWriMo, there's some confusion. Some people think that we're telling people that they've written a finished novel that can be published, and we never say that, because writing is largely rewriting.
Yep.
And so you take that draft. Some people call it a 0 draft. They don't even call it a first draft.
Wow.
I think that
I
really,
like that.
I actually think it's really good, because I think that allows that 0 draft to be an exploratory draft, where you're really just kind of finding the story. And then obviously you're going to have to go through probably multiple revisions to get it through. And so we have a month or 2 months, January and February, we focus on what we call I wrote a novel, now what? And so we offer the guidance of like, what do you do now with these letters on the page? How do you, generally it's these, tips of take some time off, gain some objectivity, come to it with clear eyes, look at the big picture story first. Don't just like proof and fix commas and stuff the first draft. But really and that community, that NaNoWriMo community can also help you, because you can get into writing groups, you get beta readers, and so it's a long process. And just the revision part. And then there's the kind of like deciding how to publish your novel part, right?
Yes.
Like do you go to the book doctor's Pitchapalooza and develop a pitch? And the thing about that is that you're going to have to develop a pitch for that novel no matter what. So it's a really good practice to either watch a Pitchapalooza or to participate in one. But really participating, like I think engaging in the process as much as it can be a fearful thing. It's also really instructive to kind of make it a real thing. And this, the pitch plays into the query letter. And whether you self-publish or traditionally publish, all of those things are going to be useful to you. So it's a huge process, but we just try to guide people as much as we can and introduce them to people like you guys, so that you can get professional help.
So many people who pitch in Pitchapalooza, afterwards they say, "Oh my God, I wasn't going to do it. I was so scared. I was so nervous. I didn't even know." And afterwards, like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I did. I got up there. And I represented." I mean, it's just a huge step to take to overcome those fears. To again, be knocking down your gates.
When I first watched you guys do a Pitchapalooza, and I didn't do one, I've never done one, so I guess it's a challenge. I should do one. But I just remember watching everybody, and I was like, "Oh man, I can't.
Guts.
Yeah, that takes like some huge guts.
Yeah.
And writers, you know, I hate even like telling, like if my aunt asked me what my novel is, I hate saying anything about it. And I think most writers are like that. So the idea that you're going to get up for a minute or two and tell this whole room of people.
We've had fellow panelists who have been like editors or agents for 30 or 40 years who were like, I wouldn't be able to get up there and do that despite how it's a wonderful thing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So part of the reason that we do it, and something that I want to segue into that you said, is that it's so important to tell people and to create community around writing. That writing alone is not only difficult, but you will have no idea whether there's an audience for your book or what people think about it. And the beta readers piece of it is something that's one of the number one reasons that we tell people to go do NaNoWriMo. As great as NaNoWriMo is, to get let's say you're writing, you know, urban fantasy. You are going to find your crew of urban fantasy writers who you can share. And most of these people read a lot of urban fantasy and can tell you, did you hit the right pacing? What are your characters? Did they fit the genre? All that kind of stuff.
It's so important. I'm so amazed, like so many of the local regions where those municipal liaisons organize the writing groups, they don't just do it in October or November. They meet year round.
That's great.
You know, and I've been talking to the New York City municipal liaisons, all of whom have made this fantastic pledge to, I mean, because it's tough sometimes to put your work out there, to write the first agent, to deal with the first rejection, and they're all rooting for each other, and it's so touching. Like one of the authors I spoke to, she doesn't quite realize that getting 3 agents asking for the full manuscript is like a huge thing.
Yes.
Even if that agent doesn't take it, just being asked. They don't do that just out of kindness because that's time being spent, you know, money being whatever, not earned. And so like things like that, you need your community people to be saying, you're doing really well, so keep going, keep sending it out there, and largely that kind of journey to publication, it is dealing with a lot of rejections and trying to open up a lot of doors and just kind of developing that resilience. So
part of being I've always been in writers groups since I was a professional writer. And I was talking about this yesterday, and I said, you get to read your stuff. There's a deadline every Tuesday. You got to have a new thing ready. It forces you to write. And then I said, and also you get to go out for drinks afterwards. And people laugh, but it's a big thing to tell war stories and listen to somebody else's war story. Somebody who's more successful than you, who struggled and had to, go through all these barriers of their own, and you go, oh, well, it's not just me. This happens to everybody.
Exactly. It's not just you. And those people who do the breakthroughs, like in your writing community, like they've opened the door, so you can follow them. They make it easier for you.
Yes, it does.
And that's where I always tell people when they get envious of other writers, which inevitably happens, is don't be envious of your friend's success because it means you're hanging around with the right people.
Exactly. That's good. That's very good.
Shall we end there?
Hold on. No. I want to ask one more thing.
Okay.
What advice do you have for writers?
I think my advice really is about persistence in the end. I think it's about, with persistence and showing up, that's where you find inspiration. That's where you learn to write better. That's where you're just going to be more resilient on that publishing path and accept those rejections. Also, rejections are something you can learn from. They shouldn't shut you down. I mean, like the rejections I received from agents, they've been some of the best things that have happened to the work that I'm working on, because sometimes it'll just be one sentence they'll say about pacing or something, and it'll be like, yes, I need to revise this whole novel again. And so you can be thankful for the rejections too.
And it's funny how oftentimes when someone says like, but the ending was bothering me.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
I just didn't quite fix it.
Exactly.
But then when someone says that, you go, okay.
I was trying to just sneak it.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank
you.
So much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right. See you at the bookstore.